had we met 2 or 3 years ago, the impact that we will have in the game of golf would be lesser.
Why?
Because it would be something small. But the way we're doing our partnership, it's going to be really big.
LIV, the Saudi Arabian golf organization, has decided to merge with the PGA. This exploded today, and it's worth billions. I mean, billions of dollars. So let's take a listen to how both organizations, LIV and the PGA, discuss this on CNBC. That's how you know this is a big financial deal, that they had to discuss it on CNBC first thing this morning. So we're going to react to that. There's some real big nuggets in here.
PGA Tour and its Saudi-backed competitor LIV Golf, along with Europe's DP World Tour, have agreed to merge in expectation of creating a global entity for the game of golf. The agreement, which is not yet a definitive agreement, ends the hostility between LIV and the PGA, along with the litigation between the parties. And
it's amazing how money can make all kinds of hostilities and litigation go away.
It calls for the giant Saudi sovereign wealth fund, PIF, which created LIV, to invest significant, I'm told, what will be billions of dollars into the new entity. That's over time. The PGA, which is currently a not-for-profit, will contribute its commercial business and rights into a new for-profit company, and will gain or will continue to have governance rights over that new entity. I had a chance to sit down with the key players behind the deal, PIF Governor Yasser Al-Rumayyan and PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan. Of course, just seeing these two together makes one wonder, well, how in the world did this come about?
Right.
Listen, I think today is it's a historical day for the PGA Tour and the game of golf. And it's a historical day for the PIF and the DP World Tour. And you're right, you know, there's been a lot of tension in our sport over the last couple of years. But what we're talking about today is coming together to unify the game of golf and to do so under one umbrella. And David, the way that we're doing that is we're creating a for-profit LLC.
You bet your ass you are. You're dealing with the Saudis. You're about to put billions of dollars in the bank.
That the PIF is going to invest in alongside the DP World Tour. And together we're going to move forward and we're going to take efforts to grow and expand this great game and to take it to new heights. And so what's happened today, and to your earlier question, is we've recognized that together we can have a far greater impact on this game than we can working apart. And I give Yasser great credit for coming to the table, coming to the discussions with an open heart and an open mind. We did the same, and the game of golf is better for what we've done here today.
Now, many of you are just football fans who watch my channel, but as I said, I'm going to be broadening out my content, and this is the biggest story in sports right now. Not the Miami Heat and Denver Nuggets, not the Vegas Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers. This golf merger between LIV and the PGA is historic. It's hugely profitable, and it has mended a rift, or will mend a rift, between the different golfers out there and their association with one or the other tour. Now, there's going to be some real pissed off golfers, because guys like Tiger Woods turned down, I heard, like $900 million to join LIV. If he had taken that money and joined LIV, now they're the same, but he's out that $900 million. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they fix that.
Yasser, give me some sense here as to how this came about, how the first call was made, and how you were able to find common ground, again, given what had been
You want some money?
In a particularly difficult history between the PGA and LIV.
We met in London. We had a lunch, followed by the next day a round of golf, then another lunch. We had discussions. We covered everything. And one of the things that I said then, had we met 2 or 3 years ago, the impact that we will have in the game of golf would be lesser.
Why?
Because it would be something small. But the way we're doing our partnership, it's going to be really big.
Imagine that had he been alive right now, John Lennon and Paul McCartney, they have fantastic careers separate away from the Beatles. But if they had announced, a few years ago that they were getting the Beatles back together, that's the kind of ramifications. That's kind of what he's saying. A couple of years ago, it would have been tough. Things wouldn't have been the way they are. But now we are the Beatles. We are the Beatles. One of these guys is John Lennon and the other is Paul McCartney. And they just announced to the world the Beatles are getting back together, per se. It's of that magnitude in the golf world.
In many senses, we will have both the LIV and the PGA Tour in addition to all of our assets, and we will be investing in the growth of the game of golf and doing many new things that I think will have a better engagement from the players, the fans, the broadcasters, the sponsors, everyone else. And
money.
Hopefully to even give a better access for more and more people to the game of golf. The way we would love to make the game of golf very much accessible, just like any other sport, just like football, basketball, any other sport.
Mm-hmm.
Every sport is now looking at being a global sport. They're no longer happy with just the United States market. They're looking at being global participatory events.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we don't have right now and today.
Right. Well, Jay, from your perspective, first you had a meeting, Jimmy Dunn obviously had this meeting, and it kind of went from there. Give our viewers now a sense as to the structure of this. And you've talked a bit about the fact that you're a nonprofit, but you're going to create a for-profit. Correct. You're going to merge, essentially.
Correct, yes.
And be...
We used to be nonprofit. Now we're in bed with the Saudis, and we're going to form a for-profit company. Duh.
A for-profit company, correct?
Yes. So the C6 still stays in place, and out of the C6, we'll continue to operate our tours. We'll put our player retirement plans and assets there. So that stays in place. I think it's very important. One of the things that's important to both of us is every single week when we're playing tournaments, we're making a huge impact on the communities where, we're invited guests. That continues. And at the C6 level, you take the assets of the PGA Tour, the PIF's assets and LIV, and with the Asian Tour and the DP World Tour, take all those commercial assets, drop them down into that for-profit LLC. This is early. We're going to go through an evaluation of all.
I bet they go public. I would almost bet a year or two down the road, they take this entire thing public, and it's just going to be a monstrous opportunity for them.
Or evaluation of all of the businesses. And
valuation. When you start looking in advance of valuation, it's not just for profit, it's for investors.
And the PIF will invest in NewCo. And importantly, as Yasser is quick to point out, there'll be an additional investment in growth initiatives. And that's what's really exciting here.
Yasser, we're talking about potentially billions of dollars being invested from the PIF, correct?
Correct. Billions. Not billion, not maybe a billion, billions. And the Saudis have, oh my God, so much money.
Over what period of time?
That's an excellent question. So the first step is today. The second one is the definitive agreement. Then we are creating the board, and the governance of the whole thing is we will evaluate every proposal that will come to us at the board level. So,
can you imagine having a partner with literally unlimited amounts of money? There's nothing you can do to stop. You can't drain their bank account. Your partner has more money than anybody in the world, and they continue to print it. Every time you go to a gas station, you're just giving the Saudis and people in the Middle East more and more and more money. They have nothing to do with it but to create these type of partnerships.
whatever it takes. That's how much is the commitment that we are committed for.
Do you expect to consolidate all these other entities as well? Are you creating one entity for global golf, essentially?
Exactly. That's the idea. And the potential.
Global golf. They want it everywhere. And so today on Twitter, people were complaining, as people do on Twitter, and they were talking about the guy that got murdered, Jamal Khashoggi, as if anybody cares anymore. This is about the game of golf. I'm sorry the guy got cut up, murdered, dismembered, and strewn across the lake or whatever. But you're not going to go backward. You can complain all you want. This is a huge, huge deal. And unfortunately, and I do say unfortunately, money talks.
There is really big. I mean, if you look at the size of golf, monetary-wise, it's about 100 billion.
100 billion. And they're talking about the valuation of the market currently. And of course, that's going to skyrocket with what these guys are going to be doing
Today. And I think the growth is there. And I think we can, working together, we can have a faster growth rate than the way it was for the past, 10 or 20 years.
David, if I could add, I think when you look at the game on a global basis, there are now more people playing the game outside the U.S. than playing inside the United States.
You keep hearing that. You keep hearing about the growth of the sports market. And one of the things they keep saying is that there are more people playing outside of the U.S. than are in the U.S. in terms of playing golf. The rest of the world is caught on. That's the same reason why these corporations are so beholden to these foreign markets. There are more consumers in these other areas than there are in the U.S. And so they're doing everything they can, albeit some of it quite kooky and crazy, to appease these global markets.
Okay, you look at everything that has transpired in terms of the forms of distribution, Topgolf, and all the other ways that people can interface with our sport. There are now people off-course, more off-course participants than on-course participants, and that combined audience in the U.S. is 48% under the age of 35.
Wow. 48% of the U.S. population under the age of, let me get that right. The golf enthusiast is 48% under the age of 35. That's a huge movement towards a younger market.
Reaching a younger demographic at a time when the sport has never been more popular, and doing so by coming together to collaborate at this point in time, that's where we see the commonality and purpose, and that's where we see this huge opportunity.
As he said, that's where they see this huge opportunity. What an understatement. This is taking the sports world by storm today. I'd love to know if you even care. I know most of you are just football fans, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I hope there's a lot of people out there who enjoy golf that may see this. And right now, we just saw a huge, huge global moment for the world of golf. Let me know what you think.